have the Ayatollah of fantasy rock and roller with us today, Adam Rank. How you doing, Rank?
They look great in person, and I just can't wait to next year where we can pack it full of 25,000.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I didn't know it was Ball Guys Day. It was being ranked. I mean, how do you lose?
This is the Dynasty Vipers Vipercast.
Hello, and welcome to the Dynasty Vipers Vipercast, episode 146, presented by the Fantasy Points Media Group. As always, I am joined by Major Caldwell IV and Tera Roberts I, and on today's show, we are here to help you win your fantasy leagues here in week number 2. Major, Tera, how are you doing tonight?
Go ahead, Tera.
I'm tired. There's no explanation beyond that. Your girl is tired, exhausted. So let's see if we can pump some energy into me tonight.
Yes, I'm going to say this is probably going to be the best show ever because Tera gets a little loopy and says some funny stuff when she's tired. And Matt is like on one right now. So prepare yourself for a fun ride, guys. Let's go.
We are going to do this upright like Will Dissly in the end zone this episode. So get ready for this. News and notes coming at you right now. Starting off with Dak Prescott, hand surgery on Monday there. 6 to 8 week timetable there. He had a pin inserted there to stabilize the joint. Now, he somehow, someone somewhere along the line seems to think that Dak Prescott could be ready by October 30th. There's a bye week right after that, and then they get the Jacksonville Jaguars or some other team sometime down the road. I don't think that October 30th is realistic, but Major, over to you off the get-go. Do you think Dak is ready to come back on October 30th? And do you think he wants to after watching this Dallas Cowboys team against the Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football? Because I'll tell you what, right now, that may have been the worst performance by a team ever. How does Mike McCarthy even have a job today?
I can answer that one.
Right. Everyone's like, let me answer that. No, I don't, it's not good. And it sucks, man. I hate seeing players get hurt because I've been hurt before and worked my way back, and it just never was all the way back to what I really was. So I can like feel what he must be feeling after coming back from that season ending injury. Was it last year or year before? So yeah, he's I know he's probably feeling really down right now. He's gonna push, like he's gonna try as hard as to make it at that time frame. If anyone can do it, I think he can. But I don't know, man. Hand injury for a quarterback is that's a big one for me. I don't know.
For those of you who haven't tuned in since like last week, Major played junior college at the College of the Canyons. Just so I thought I'd bring that up here one more time. But really, this injury, it stinks. Because more than anything, I was all in on CD Lamb, and now Ball Black Sheep, he ain't no more. I mean, this is bad. This is bad for CD Lamb. It was bad enough when no one could stretch this field for him, but now with him not having anyone who could throw the ball, Cooper Rush, no, Tera, help me out here.
No, I completely agree. I had a dynasty team that I was about to go all in on, and now I'm just like, okay. Yeah, no, this is very bad for those Dallas pass catchers. But it might not have been so good even with the healthy Dak, and not to the fault of Dak, just organizationally, Dallas just kind of messed up like severely. And I don't think this was going to be a pretty season regardless. So I think all we can hope for is that, Dak just needs to take his time. Russ came back a little bit too early last year from his injury, and the result wasn't good. It wasn't productive for Russ or for the Seattle receivers at that time. So just take your time, rehab properly. Don't try and rush it back, unfortunately. And we got to, if you got Dak, I have him on one team, you got to hit the waivers.
And luckily for everybody, we're going to talk waivers a little bit later in the show, and maybe a body or two that can come in there and replace Dak's production to a degree. I mean, Dak's production wasn't that great to begin with, but there's a few of us, like myself too, that had Dak as our QB1. Now, I'm going to skip a
real quick question for you guys. Jimmy G, what do you guys think about that to Dallas?
Jimmy G ain't going nowhere because Trey Lance has horrible.
That was a
Week
rainy
1.
game. You cannot blame that kid for that game.
Yeah.
When you have questions already about your performance and your abilities, and then you go, I get it. I mean, it was a bad monsoon.
They were
It
playing
hurt my-
a
it hurt-
jacuzzi. No, what do you call it? Like a sauna, or what is those little baby pools?
Yeah.
Tsunami. Anyway, I mean, Darnell Moody, Cole Kmet, they were affected by this too, and Justin Fields, or however you want to go to. But I mean, they've got to hang on to Jimmy Garoppolo until they know what they've got in Trey Lance. I mean, that's the bottom line, because this 49ers team, they are built to win now. And if they're not going to get that quarterback play out of Trey Lance weeks 2, weeks 3, weeks 4, weeks 5, there could be a change coming sooner rather than later, depending on where this team is in the playoff hunt. Now, I want to talk about another running back here. I'm going to toss it over to Major. It is Najee Harris. Off season, we're talking Liz Frank. Now, all of a sudden, he exits the game here with a high ankle sprain that his test came back negative. He seems to think he's good to go. Are you good to go on Najee Harris in week number 2?
I don't know, man. Again, just like a quarterback with a hand, a running back with a foot that's a lot. The plant, the cut, and all that good stuff, changing directions. That stuff is going to hurt. I mean, in NFL, they give you a shot and all that good stuff, so he may be able to play through it. But that's one of those things that you can really mess it up for the rest of the season if you continue to play on it. So hopefully he does a smart thing. And I think, the Steelers are a smart organization. I think they'll let him sit it out, coach will make him sit out and get all the way healthy before he hurts it too much. And then he can't play in the, I don't know if they're making it to the playoffs, but if they did have a chance, they want him around, All
right, and then I'm going to turn it over to Terry here. I want to talk because this is one of our guys here. It's Keenan Allen. Hamstring, strung him up in week number 1. We saw he was having a good game, but hey, I said, and I'm going to take credit for this right now, I had him on my sit list. Now, if he would have played more than half a game, he would have went on and done pretty well. But I'm going to take this while I can take it right now. But Keenan Allen, short turnaround. He's not playing Thursday night, is he?
No, more than likely not. Which is, I guess, in the long term, it's a good thing. We don't want these guys to come back. I just said it. We don't want these guys to come back early from injury and risk it. The good thing is that it sounds like it isn't that bad. So we're really only talking about a 1-week absence here, not something severe. So nothing to panic over. Just fill your spot for this week, and then you'll more than likely be good to go for the next.
Well, Tera's saying not to panic. I'm in full panic mode because it's a hamstring here. This is going to linger week in and week out.
Yeah.
Oh, please no. But let's talk about some of these other injuries before we get on to our winners and losers of week number 1. I'm just going to run off this because Elijah Mitchell, MCL sprain, 68 weeks. That just breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Chris Godwin, he suffered a very similar fate as to Keenan Allen, except his seems to be a little bit more serious. We're looking at about a 2-week period there for his hamstring. Again, I'm not a doctor, but he's also coming off that ACL. Somewhere, some way, that's all going to be connected together.
Right,
and then T. Higgins, he had the concussion. McCorkle Jones, back spasms. I mean, I'm expecting Higgins and Jones to be back this week because I've had my back spasms day to day. I'm here on the show right now. So, hey, I'm a gamer. I'm a winner. Dang it. Now let's get on to our winners and losers from week number 1. Major, who was your major winner in week 1?
Don't do that one. I don't like that one. Leonard Fournette, man, all those people. I love when players win. That's like my happiest moment. It's like the player versus Twitter or something like that. So all the memes of everyone with the fat Uncle Lenny jokes and all the fat pictures, the pregnant looking pictures. The man is down to 228, looking slim, looking fit, looking like he did when he played in college. He balled out, man. 21 carries, 127 yards, no TDs though. But I just like the way he was moving. I watched that game, and he was just he looked like a young Lenny. I think he can have a really good season.
I just like the whole Lenny there. I mean, 228, we're calling him thick. I'm 240. What do people call me? What do people call me? I look like Mr. Potato Head. That's what I look like. But anyway, Leonard Fournette was getting the hey. Van Elber kind of comparisons. Now, who's your major loser for week number 1? Oh, and say it. Can bring it from deep down because this one, I just want to hear you say it.
I'm about to cry, man. But I'm gonna say my guy Cam Akers, man. You know, it didn't work out like I said it was gonna work out, but I'm not giving up. I believe in you. Coach called you out. We know you are a winner. We know you like to be motivated. We know you like to defeat the odds. You are the only person in the history of life to come back in one season from an Achilles. Most Achilles was like your career is over. You came back. Coach called you out. I know you got it in you. And yeah, I know you will bounce back this week.
Well, if you say so. Now, on to you, Tera here. Who is your winner for week number 1?
Well, if you say so.
Okay.
That was good. That was good. Oh, Matt, that was funny. My winner from this week is AJ Brown. All I can say is that it pays to be the quarterback's best friend. 10 receptions, 13 targets, 155 yards. Wide receiver, just for reference in PPR, wide receiver 7 on the week and not a single touchdown. Like that's pretty incredible. We're talking about a guy here who is going to put up serious numbers. And you have to go all the way down to wide receiver 15, down to Jarvis Landry to find the next leading receiver that was on the list 1 through 15 and didn't have a touchdown. That's how dominant this man was. And to put this in perspective of how he's doing on the Eagles versus the Titans, he's only had more than 13 targets in a game once in his career. Now, granted, he's a young man, but still, that's pretty significant. We're talking about AJ Brown moving from a run-first team that had zero intention of doing anything other than being run-first team, running the offense through Derrick Henry, to a run-first team now that understands, yeah, we can get to the playoffs with running, but if we want to be a Super Bowl contending team, we have to throw the ball, and that pass volume is going to AJ Brown. He's going to be the leader in the change of this team with Jalen Hurts, and I'm so excited for this connection. It is a fantastic stack. It's going to be beautiful all season long, and I think we learned a valuable lesson here with these wide receivers. If you see a wide receiver spending pictures of them spending quality time together, hear rumors that they're having brunch together. Hear rumors that the wide receiver is literally living with the quarterback. We've had that before. That is the indication. Draft that receiver, that one right there. So guys, pay attention to those little telltale signs next year. And you can grab the AJ Brown, the Cooper Kupp, the Antonio Brown of next year.
And if they go to Disneyland and are wearing Mickey Mouse ears, I mean, that automatically catapults you to wide receiver 1. Period status.
100%.
How come we were not privileged to AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts in Mickey Mouse ears with Mickey Mouse? I mean, I feel that this is stuff that we should have known before draft season, because that would have definitely, I mean, I would have taken AJ Brown at 112 and Jalen Hurts at 201 every single draft if I would have known that.
For sure. And then let me talk about yes, I mean, it seems so simple. It's the funniest thing in the world, but we keep seeing it happen over and over and over again. We kind of got to look it in the face and say, hey guys, it's literally relationships. It's the workplace.
Also, went to school together, you know, all that
exactly
stuff.
Let's hope that works out for it's working out for Devontae Adams. Let's hope that works out a little bit better for Marquise Brown. Moving on to my loser of the week. And it's a grouping of losers, unfortunately. It is literally any Minnesota pass catcher that is not named Justin Jefferson. I think we might have underestimated, I know that I did, we might have underestimated a little bit just how much of Kevin O'Connell he was bringing into this offense here. Justin Jefferson is literally Cooper Kupp 2.0, but trumped up because it's Justin Jefferson, and he's just on a different level than literally 99% of other people from an athletic perspective. I think we might be looking at something that's a little scary in terms of the way this man is going to dominate. And I'm getting a little bit concerned for Adam Thielen, if he's going to be the Robert Woods of this year. KJ Osborne looking like he's going to be that Van Jefferson, Irv Smith, Tyler Higbee, but I think it might be a little worse for all of these guys. So unfortunately, these are my losers. I'm worried about their production. Yeah.
Well, now we go to the ultimate winner. Major hyped up Cam Akers and how great of an athlete he is of coming back from Achilles and sucking. Now I'm going to talk to you about a guy who's coming back from an Achilles injury, the same one, I mind you, and doing it with style. doing it better than a rookie that everyone loved. We are talking about James Robinson. Major, right now, you talk about how people doubted Cam Akers. You're talking about an undrafted free agent. Everything has been stacked against him since the day he entered the National Football League. James Robinson is everything that everyone's wanted Cam Akers to be, except he's actually good. Yeah, I'll say it right. He's actually good. He's actually performing. Listen, Jaguars running backs Travis Etienne and James Robinson split snaps 51 and 49, while Robinson led the way on the ground with a 60% share in the running game. After an Achilles injury, Etienne played 75% of the long down and distance and 100% of the 2-minute offense. He also saw 100% of the short yardage. Robinson's not even healthy yet. This is the first game back. Could you imagine what he's going to do when he gets going? I mean, this is, for me, is the winner, and everyone discarded him. Fantasy managers, he wasn't even being drafted till the 12th, 13th round.
True.
Like, I guess I'll take James Robinson. I literally accidentally drafted him one time when I timed out. It was like the greatest thing that ever happened to me this year. Auto-picking James Robinson. Now my loser. Hey, what do I look like right now? I look like a loser because I believe in CeeDee Lamb. Shame on me. Last year, I had CeeDee Lamb as a top 5 wide receiver. This year, I was like, you know what? He's got to do it this year. No, he's not. He is sadly not going to do it. And now his stats, any kind of hope that he has of cracking the top 12 wide receivers lies in the hands of Cooper Rush. Not Dak Prescott, Cooper Rush. I'm sure Dak can play with 4 fingers and no thumb and still throw a better ball than Cooper Rush can throw. So for me, CeeDee Lamb is my biggest loser for the week. I mean, this one just hurts at a different level. This seems like one of those situations that went bad from worse. You get no quarterback play now down the stretch. You got no one to stretch the field because Michael Gallup's still not ready to come back. I mean, this is not a good situation. Fantasy managers, don't worry though. Hey, we've got you covered. We've got some players that you might be able to replace CeeDee Lamb with in a little bit. Now, we know what we're getting into. I already got hyped up. Hey, if you want, head over to our YouTube page right now because I've already done the Thursday night preview. I've put all the work in for you. I broke it all down, but we're going to break it all down for you again on this show. And we're going to start with the major props portion of the show. Talk about the TNF props that you might want to get in on. Major, the field is yours.
Let's go. So let's go to low-hanging fruit. I'm going to give you the quarterback matchup. That's what we all hear. That's all we want to see. That's all we're here for. So I'm going to go Justin Herbert, less than 286.5 passing yards. Last week, Herbert had 279 passing yards last week versus Kansas City. Kansas City gave up 193 yards to Murray. I think Herbert's way better than Murray, so I think it's going to be an opportunity for him to ball out. The news of having Allen out. I'm sorry. Having Allen out is really going to hurt his numbers. I think before this show, I had him at going more than 286.5 yards. But with that news, I think it's going to bring him down. But I think he's going to be close to it. Then we're going to go to Patrick Mahomes, less than 307 passing yards. Yes, last week he did ball out, throwing it to every receiver, looking like Tom Brady, just throwing it everywhere. But the Chargers defense is really good, man. That secondary is one of the top secondaries in the league. I like the clamps they put down on receivers, so I think you're going to see a difference in the offense from Patrick Mahomes from last week to this week. That's what I got.
So a couple of interesting things there. I don't necessarily hate Justin Herbert because I won't bet against the guy for what he's been able to do his first, let's call it 3 seasons in the NFL. This was the kickoff of his 3rd season. But the one thing I think we're not looking at here when we're looking at what the Chiefs were able to do against the Cardinals is the Cardinals receivers behind Marquise Hollywood-Brown weren't the greatest. We're talking about Greg Dortch here and all these kind of guys. But the biggest injury that I see that no one's talking about, and I really want to point this out here when we're talking about those props for these wide receivers for the Los Angeles Chargers, for Justin Herbert, is the fact that one area that they might be able to take advantage of is DeAndre Carter in the slot. When Allen went down, it was DeAndre Carter that went in there. And for the Kansas City Chiefs, Trent McDuffie, who was their nickel corner, he also suffered an injury, which brings in 7th rounder Jaylen Warren as the next man up as the nickel corner for the Kansas City Chiefs. Just something to keep in your mind here as we head into Thursday night football. Now, Tera, you do a fantastic job there over at the CBS, kind of breaking down things there as far as DFS goes. So we're going to talk a little DFS here real quick, a quick little breakdown as we head into Thursday night football. What do you got for us?
Well, this one is going to be a pretty interesting one because we've got some very obvious, massive high price targets when these guys we talked about. We just talked about Patrick Mahomes. We talked about Justin Herbert. And then there's Travis Kelce as well. These are the high price targets, these guys that you want in your lineups. These are your captains. And it's going to be hard in terms of how you're going to try to fit in these guys and match them up, 2 of 3, what you're going to do to get them in there and the value players that you're going to have to add in order to make it work. I personally like the Mahomes and Kelce stack, but if you want to get a little bit of leverage, maybe at the captain's position, Justin Herbert does make sense there as well. We talked about Keenan Allen being out. That does bump up Mike Williams as a little bit, not a super high price target, but a high-ish price target that you might want to have in your lineups. And then we've got Juju as well, kind of in that similar price range to Mike Williams. But talking about value pieces that are going to help you in terms of getting to these high price targets and working them into your lineups. I'll start off with obviously the injury to Keenan Allen bumps up a few people. We've talked about DeAndre Carter, who's one who, when we look at the ownership percentage that is projected for this game, he would be someone that if you really want to differentiate yourself, that's a good value piece, low ownership. So a lot of people are obviously tilting towards Josh Palmer. He's a very popular person. He's very popular on this show. We love him. And because we know that he's going to be highly owned. So if you want to make a little, maybe tilt against that ownership, DeAndre Carter is a good option. There's also Gerald Everett, who I spoke about last week as being a very good option as well. Very cheap on DraftKings, $4,800. And then we talked about Josh Palmer. But Miko Hardman is also one that is very interesting because he is $2,400 less than Juju, which is very, very interesting when you consider the fact that Hardman actually has oddly enough stepped up much better than he did before. Maybe he was a little bit intimidated by Tyreek Hill, but he looked pretty good. Patrick Mahomes was spreading the ball around, making all of these targets on the Kansas City Chiefs very appealing in terms of the upside that they could provide. So if you want to go the cheaper route and maybe try and get a little bit of leverage there with Miko Hardman, I think that makes sense as well. The only other thing, obviously, that you maybe want to look at in terms of differentiating yourself could be Austin Eckler. A lot of people are looking at him a little down in terms of that week 1 performance, not living up to expectations. So that's another one where you could kind of get a little bit different. And then the cheapest option, where if you want to throw a little bit of a Hail Mary, would obviously be Skye Moore. A little bit underwhelming in that week 1 performance, only 1 target, 19% snap count. So it's a little bit risky, but it's incredibly cheap if you want to shove it in there and try to make it work and hope that maybe he brings a little bit of that rookie magic and steps up this week.
Not bad. I mean, I think we're setting this up for a 1v1 matchup where we're going to talk Herbert versus Mahomes and who's the better option here on Thursday Night Football. But before we do, hey, I get a say in the whole thing here. So let's talk a little bit about what I'm kind of expecting from this matchup. Again, if you want my full opinions and everything broke down, head over to the YouTube channel right now. If you're watching, obviously, the show, hey, the Thursday Night Breakdown is right there, right beside this, the thumbnail right beside. Just click it. Really easy. Now, both the Chargers and the Chiefs, they are coming off impressive opening week victories there. We saw the Mahomes and the Chiefs basically go into cruise control at halftime. I mean, this game was literally over when Travis Kelce caught that first touchdown. Game, set, match right there. You could actually pinpoint the exact moment when Kyler Murray realized that he's no longer playing Call of Duty and just going to – but, hey, good on the Chiefs. They dominated them. Now, the Chargers, on the other hand, they weren't really pushed by the Raiders early, so they kind of got into cruise control a little bit earlier than maybe you were anticipating, but they also let the Raiders get back into that contest. So, hey, the one biggest thing that I noticed was Khalil Mack, 3 sacks, 5 pressures on 33 pass rushes. Now, we know Derek Carr. He's athletic and stuff, but for some reason, he doesn't feel pressure. He never has felt the pressure. Patrick Mahomes, he's like Houdini back there. I mean, he can escape just about anything, but will he be able to escape both Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack this week? That is what's going to come down to it. That's going to be a deciding factor. That is why the Chargers brought in Khalil Mack to go after and get themselves a little bit of something there, Patrick Mahomes. Now, with that all being said, with all that information that we presented, we are going one-on-one right now. We've got the Mac Daddy himself, Major Caldwell. We got T-Sizzle, Tera Roberts. We got Major. You are up first.
Don't agree with that, Tera. Don't egg him on. Don't nod your head to that. Don't.
I did it just for you.
We are about to get lit, and it is going to be pure fire out here right now, right, Major? You're going to tell us why we need to get behind Justin Herbert. Why is Justin Herbert the better play than Patrick Mahomes this week? And by the way, Twitter, if you're watching this right now, I'm going to clip this out. We're going to put it out there. And by the way, I have defeated both Major and Tera in these 1v1 matchups thanks to Twitter.
Who
yes,
said?
the Twitter results speak for themselves. I am
You and all your friends on Twitter's
all 42 of my fake accounts, all my burner accounts agree with me. I am the winner each and every week.
his mom, his dad, everyone.
Speak on Justin Herbert. Speak on the golden child of the National Football League.
Yeah, I just kind of feel like I hopped in here early and grabbed Herbert before Tera could even get to the show sheet and pick her player. But it feels like the NFL, with all the talk, they're talking about Herbert and they're talking about Josh Allen. These are two people that seem like they want to like MVP race. So for Justin to be to continue to be in this MVP race, he's going to have to beat Patrick Mahomes. This is a big game for him and his team. Kind of feel like a passing of the guard. Feels like Patrick Mahomes is the guy of yesteryear, even though he's like MVP like a couple years ago, whatnot. But you know, you look at their head-to-head stats, and they're pretty much identical. I mean, it was Herbert has 4 games, and I guess Mahomes missed a game, so their numbers are still pretty compatible. Though, if you take some numbers out from Herbert as well, so I don't know. To me, it's a toss-up. You can't lose with any one of these players, but I'm going to have to go with Herbert because it feels like the NFL wants him to win, and I'm a big conspiracy theory guy.
Well, hey, that's fine and dandy. I just want to point out again, Major, when I defeated you, you actually thought that Cam Akers was going to be a top 15 running back.
This is about me and Tera right now. Why are you even unmuting? Like, what's
because I got to segue into things. And in Tera's defense, both Stephon Diggs and Cooper Kupp had excellent week ones last.
Look what he's doing. Oh my God!
Now, Tera,
worse. You must be the moderator, not the.
I want to see that most intimidating face that you can give Major right now, because I see in the show sheets right now it says Tera plans to win via intimidation.
What are you gonna look at her dimples? Watch.
Intimidation of words. I didn't say it was gonna be a mean face. The only person who would say I would have a mean face is my 5-year-old. He would agree with that.
He probably would still laugh. He laughs a little bit.
Yes. But yeah, I'm ready to dive into this. Major did get into the show sheet early and he chose Justin Herbert. Good for him. I still would have chose Patrick Mahomes, so it didn't really matter. But yeah, let's dive into it. Patrick Mahomes, this man is so insane. He threw for 360 yards, 30 of 39, 5 touchdowns to the likes of Miko Hardman, MVS. And I know you like Juju. I know you like Miko. We know that. And it's always been one of your flaws. But Juju, who unfortunately his career was in such shambles that he nearly signed for the league minimum. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but not really when you really think about it. Patrick Mahomes is so incredible. He took this ragtag group of wide receivers and literally turned them into the collective Tyreek Hill. Okay, that's how good Patrick Mahomes is. Okay, but here's the thing. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to outscore Justin Herbert alone. Kansas City's defense, as you so aptly point out, Major, held Kyler Murray to 193 yards.
Yes,
it doesn't happen often. We can look at the stats. I know you like stats. Or do you? I don't know. Look at the stats.
That's
It doesn't happen very often. But another thing we have to consider is that the Chargers were a run funnel defense last year, and that didn't work, as Matt very aptly point out as well. They had to go out and fix that. They revamped that defense in the offseason, and they did a good job. I mean, it's a little bit scary now. So there's really no incentive to actually run the ball down their throats now, like everyone did last year. So now is the time to throw the ball through the air, light it up vertically, and that is exactly what Patrick Mahomes is going to do. You don't have to approach them with literally just trying to run. You can be well-rounded, and that's, literally right within the wheelhouse of Patrick Mahomes. In fact, let's talk about it. Last week, Derek Carr, 295 yards to Justin Herbert's 279. Even Derek Carr outthrew him. Now, technically, Carr had 3 interceptions and 2 fumbles. So, from a fantasy perspective, from a fantasy perspective, that didn't go so well from him. But that's Derek Carr. That is not Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is superior. Matt knows that as well. I'm sure he would gladly admit that like 5 times over. So this will be another 300-plus yard game. It won't be 360. I mean, that's so hard to achieve, but maybe he'll come down to 350. I think that's a realistic possibility. Maybe like 350, 3 touchdowns this time. This will be, just another game in his quest to reclaim MVP. So, I don't know what the props are right now in terms of futures, but I would go and look up that prop for whether or not Patrick Mahomes will be the one that wins the MVP, because I think it's going to be happening.
God.
Go check that out.
What is wrong? What is wrong? What is going? I'm doing the rest of the show.
Prop Star Major can look that one up for us.
I'm doing the rest of this show in protest. I'm just letting you guys know. There's too much high five going on between these two. I don't like it at all. They're giving each other props in the middle of the verses, guys. What's going on here? The rest of the show under protest.
Well, you should always try and earn favor with the moderator during a debate. I mean, that's basically rule number 1 of debate club. Rule number 2.
Yuck.
Hey, I want to just point out right now, I said, whichever one of these quarterbacks can handle the pressure the best is who's going to have the most success this week. It really comes down to that. We've seen Mahomes struggle in Super Bowl appearances when the Buccaneers pressured him. Anyone feels pressure like that, bad things are going to happen. Kansas City, to their defense, against Kyler Murray, had 28 quarterback pressures last week, and we know what Khalil Mack was capable of doing to Derek Carr. I said those 3 sacks, those 5 quarterback pressures, that forced fumble. I mean, I can't even imagine what's going through your head if you're a quarter. Like, I got to go back to Derek Carr, because if there's 2 angry men chasing me, I'm going to run. I might not be able to run very fast, but I sure as heck ain't going to stay there and let either one of them hit me. I mean, that's basically my flight or flight response coming out of me. Now, let's get into
so slow. It doesn't matter if he runs or not. So he's like, I might as well save some energy.
Hey, Derek Carr is sneaky athletic. I mean, the guy can actually move when he wants to move.
10 years ago. But yeah.
Dang.
He's still got plenty of tread on the tires. I mean, the guy can still move when he needs to, except he just doesn't want to. I mean, I can't explain it. Now, let's get into some waiver wires here, because we just talked about at the top of the hour here, at the top of the show, some of those injuries that are affecting everybody. So, Major, I'm going to give you 2 waiver wire guys. Let everyone know who we should be going after on the waiver wires, because, hey, we're doing this show a little bit earlier than last year, so you actually have time to get these guys into your waivers right now.
Yeah, first one's going to be Greg Dortch out of Arizona. We all wonder who was going to be the wide receiver 1 in Arizona with the news of Nuke being out. Everyone was going with Hollywood. Shout out to the COC alum, you know what I'm saying? And but yeah, you have Moore, AJ Green. None of them showed up, but this 5'7", 175-pound. I want to say he was a free agent, but he's a 3rd-year receiver from I can't remember the name of his college now. Wake Forest. There you go. But yeah, he's a little fast guy, and no one even knew who he was, and he came out of nowhere and led the team in receptions last week. So pick him up as a flyer in deep leagues. And my second one, I'm going with Devin Duvernay. I have to admit, I liked him from drafting and all that good stuff, but I was kind of leaning towards Porsche with this one to be the wide receiver 2 behind Bateman, but he proved me wrong, going 5 5 receptions, 2 TDs. He had a great game. So I don't know. That's what I got. Pick those 2 guys up, if you need a receiver.
Hey, I just want to point out the Demon Deacon scorched the dorch there, as Major likes to call him. I mean, who would have known he would have been able to do what he did? And who would have known about Devin Duvernay? I would have known. Check out my top 5 fantasy assets for the Baltimore Ravens. There is visual and audio proof of my profession of love for Devin Duvernay right there on there. You can check it out. Now, Tera, give me 2 waiver claims here that we need to get in our bidding process.
You gotta go and get Curtis Samuel. I think we all kind of just forgot because last year, unfortunately, Curtis Samuel suffered from injuries and just couldn't recover and was just struggling with it. And Washington just wasn't able to use him the way that they wanted to use him. But he's back, he's healthy, and they've got Carson Wentz now. And I know we like to clown Carson Wentz in terms of like actual football and the way he just has such a knack for literally taking the game in a direction that it shouldn't go. But on a fantasy football side, he's really not that bad. The man is a literal, like the highest end of a QB2 that you can possibly get pretty consistently until he, has some mental breakdown and like kind of breakdowns halfway through the season. But before that happens, he's really putting up great fantasy numbers and providing a lot of output for these receivers. And Curtis Samuel was one of them. I was really surprised by what he was able to do. And I think it's going to continue when you look at that offense and what they're able to do. And I think he's going to be a viable fantasy asset. He's someone that you want to have on your roster. I think he's going to see a consistent stream of targets. So provided he stays healthy, you're looking at a guy that could possibly be a top 24 receiver. On the other end, the obvious big one that you need to get if he's on your waivers, 100%, you got to grab Jeff Wilson. We know exactly who Jeff Wilson is. We've seen it before. We've seen it literally in fantasy championship weeks where he went out and had the most ridiculous game ever. And I know that specifically because I'm bitter because it literally took me out in the championship. So, I will never forget it. Right. But Jeff Wilson, yeah, he's a must add right now. When we look at that roster, he is the next man up. He is the clear lead back moving forward. Tyrion Davis-Price, unfortunately, was a healthy scratch. You've got Trey Sermon that is an Eagle now. Kyle Juszczyk is someone who's not going to be involved from a volume perspective. And then you've got the other rookie whose name is escaping me at this moment, and I completely apologize. And you do Jordan Mason, and you need to grab him in deeper leagues for sure, where Jeff Wilson is already rostered, because there's always a possibility that he could step up and be the next man up as well in a Shanahan offense. But for right now, if he's there, Jeff Wilson is the one that you need to be grabbing.
I'm glad you mentioned Jordan Mason there, because as much as we want Elijah Mitchell to be something, injury history seems to be quite evident. Yeah. Well, Jeffrey Wilson hasn't had a much better career as far as injuries are concerned. So you have to feel that at some point there could be an opportunity for Jordan Mason down the stretch. Now, and I also love that you mentioned Curtis Samuel. Go ahead, Tera.
I will say real quick, don't 100% count out Tyrion Davis-Price, because again, when you look at running backs sometimes, I think it happened a lot with Zach Moss last year. If you don't fit into the mold of being able to perform on special teams, and there's no purpose for you actually being out there, they'll healthy scratch you. So, he still could be a viable asset in terms of a, actual running back. Now the opportunity is happening, so don't write him off completely, but just, beware.
Now he'll be all right.
Yeah.
And your Curtis Samuel pick kind of goes right into my waiver wire pickup here as well. But I just want to mention again, Curtis Samuel on my top 5 fantasy assets for the Washington Commanders team. Again, on the YouTube channel, you can check that out. I had some nice things to say about it. I think I actually referred to Curtis Samuel as the poor man's Deebo Samuel before Deebo Samuel became a thing. And you're already seeing it right now. I mean, he had 4 carries and 11 targets in week 1 because he's doing what Ron Rivera had him doing in Carolina, except for the injuries happened to him along the way. Now, for me, Carson Wentz is that guy I'm looking on waivers to replace Dak Prescott. And I get it. I am getting the entire Carson Wentz experience here. He had 4 touchdowns, 313 passing yards, and 2 absolutely horrible interceptions. Philadelphia fans, Indianapolis fans, and soon Washington fans all have gone to realize that this is who Carson Wentz happens to be. But when you look at the weapons that he has, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, Antonio Gibson, Logan Thomas, and Terry McLaurin, he's got something that even Dak Prescott didn't have in Dallas, or playmakers to make things happen for him. And the other guy I love right now on waivers, he is a smooth criminal. You may remember him from doing whatever that weird thing is that he was able to do, and that is Zay Jones. We've all seen the video. I still can't explain what he did and how he did it. I'm pretty confident there's like a string that kind of pulled him up or something. I don't know. But Zay Jones had 6 catches for 65 yards, 9 targets, a 21% target share. And I remember sitting and talking with Bob Harris and Mike Dempsey. And Mike Dempsey, he's pretty plugged in when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He has his finger on that pulse in Duval County. He basically said, he mentioned that Zay Jones was going to have a bigger part of this offense than most people realize. He ran the same amount of routes as Christian Kirk, which happened to be 2 more than what Marvin Jones happened to run. So Zay Jones is going to be a factor in this Jaguars offense. That factors to be throwing plenty this season. Now, the other one I want to talk about here, hey, D-Dub, Daryl Wilson at Spitz Picks. He wanted to get involved in the show, so he's got some picks for you here as well. He mentioned Curtis Samuel, back, healthy, dynamic, targets, and he's got Wentz. Jarvis Landry, straight dog, undervalued in draft season. Jeffrey Wilson, he kind of reiterates that. Elijah Mitchell out weeks, should get a load over the rookies. James Robinson, forgotten man in the offseason due to injury. Sexy Rexy Burke had 80% of the snaps. Even if it doesn't continue, he will still get work in the passing game. And if you caught one of Tera's TikToks earlier, she also mentions Rex Burkhead as a guy to pick up. O.J. Howard, Pep Hamilton, he knows how to use them. And Taysom Hill, Wildcat, quarterback/tight end packages aplenty in New Orleans. Now, those are the waiver wire pickups for you entering week number 2. Now, what you're all waiting for, if you're listening to this video, drop any of those questions in the comment section. Let us know your starts and sits, what kind of questions you have, and we'll break it down. I'll get in here and I'll answer those questions as well. Now, we start with the quarterback position. Major, are you really going to let Russ cook in week number 2?
I hope he does. Like, I've been waiting for him to cook for like 2 seasons. Like, I mean, he ended up with some good numbers. He completed 29. He had 29 completions for 340 yards and a TD, but the game didn't really flow the way it should. He probably should have had way more yards than that. It just didn't look right. Made some bad choices down a stretch. But he'll be facing a Houston defense that gave up 360 yards last week. So look to Russ to serve up. See what I did there? The Houston team. I'm trying to be like you when I grow up. No, Russ should have a bounce back game because he needs to stop doing that. He needs to get it together. And I'm gonna go right in. We're going one by one, or what are we doing?
Hey, give me a sit. Who do you got? Who are you sitting at quarterback?
I'm gonna go with your boy McCorkle. Is that how you call him? I'm just gonna call him Daniel Jones. I mean, it's Daniel Jones. Like, you should see him almost every week. But if you're thinking about it, I'm here to tell you to go ahead and sit that guy for the rest of the season. No, but he still shows he's volatile. He only threw for 188 yards, had an interception last week. But he did have 2 touchdowns. But like Matt always says, a broken clock is right. Once, twice a day? I forgot the thing. There you go. But, and the Panthers defense only gave up 138 passing yards last week, tied for the second best in the league. And I'm pretty sure they're going to have all the defense hungry and ready to eat on Daniel Jones. McCorkle Jones is somebody else, right?
He's the Mac Daddy in New England. Mac
there
Jones.
Jones. I mean, they're both the same player if you really think about it. They're the same Jones.
One can move, one has back spasms.
Both can't. Who can move?
Daniel Jones can move.
Yeah, but then he like trips himself. Like, come on, let's not play.
Okay, but he moves to get to the trip, so
no,
it's okay.
I'm not. If you can't stay on your feet after a run, you can't move. I'm just gonna give it to you that way.
Well, I will point out that McCorkle Jones has a Pro Bowl experience under his belt, but hey, that's neither here nor there.
So does Matt Castle. Shout out to Matt Castle. I'll play with him. Matt, I'm sorry, dog.
Why are you gonna do him dirty like that?
I know. It feels so nasty when I did it.
Tera, come and bring us around here. Let's talk positive about somebody. Who's starting in week number 2?
I will talk positive about Carson Wentz. I mean, you already talked you already talked about the positive around it, but I'll put some additional numbers to it, some stats. Major's favorite thing in the world.
Stats.
Weeks 1 through 9 last year, Carson Wentz averaged 18.6 fantasy points per game. We're talking about a guy who you can literally count on again to be like just right outside of being a QB1. So if you're looking for someone to start on a consistent basis, he's that guy. He'll do it until he falls apart. So you've got a while. It'll literally last the entire time that Dak is out. So that's my man right there for my start. And then my sit, if anyone was still kind of thinking that Ryan Tannehill was a streamable option, I want you to rethink it and don't do it. Tannehill's week 1 was actually pretty decent. 20 completions on 33 attempts, 266 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's pretty good. But the problem is that he plays Buffalo this week. You absolutely do not want to start anyone playing Buffalo. Their defense is absolute madness. Good job, Leslie Frazier, because they look insane. Stay away from Ryan Tannehill. This will not be his week.
Major, as our sound expert, I need you to give me some kind of sound thing. Instead of that, shots. Stats. Whatever Tera comes on to speak.
I'm going to clip you saying it and just put it on the board.
I think that's what the show is missing right there. Less of me. Definitely less of me, okay? Now for me, hey, I just badmouthed my BFF there. I just badmouthed Derek Carr earlier on the show. 3 interceptions last week, but that was last week. That's in the past. This week, he gets to play against the Cardinals. We already talked about Patrick Mahomes, 360 yards, 5 touchdowns, and basically 3 quarters of work. Now, why am I excited about Derek Carr? Because I like to get into the advanced matchups here. The Cardinals, they played the 4th most man coverage a week ago, and they got absolutely lit up. If you're going to play in man coverage against Davante Adams and Derek Carr, you are going to be in for a long day. There's I don't care, Juju, McCole, Skye. None of these guys are Davante Adams. None of these guys are even Hunter Renfrow. Let's be honest. Hunter Renfrow didn't do nothing last week. This is going to be a huge week for these Raiders getting this team right. We knew that this offensive line was going to struggle. It's going to take a little while for this cohesion to kick in. It's one of the worst offensive lines in football, but there's nothing that the Cardinals can do to stop Davante Adams. So I am starting Derek Carr this week. J.J. Watt, he was a little banged up. I mean, this Cardinals team is already banged up. They're getting the Baltimore Ravens treatment from 2021 here, right? I mean, nothing is going good for the Cardinals right now, and it's not about to get any better because Chandler Jones, he was a Cardinal last year, and now he gets to finally take out some frustration, and you know there must have been something in that locker room. I'm not saying there was or wasn't, but if Chandler Jones hits him with a little bit more authority, I think we could kind of put that to rest. Now, the guy I'm sitting, and I got to do it. It's Tom Brady. I'm sorry, because I'm going to tell you. I'm going to say, hey, look at my record last week. I think I nailed almost 95% of my starts.
Anything else he says the rest of the show, he just cursed himself.
Tom Brady, not a great outing against Dallas. 212 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It was the run game. You talk about Fat Albert there. Hey. Lenny Fournette running to the left side, run to the left side, run to the left side. That left side for Tampa Bay is formidable on that offensive line. They are playing against the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans has won 4 of the last 5 contests against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brady, while he's thrown for some yardage, 689 yards in those last 2 games, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions last season against New Orleans. He did have a 375-yard contest in there, but this Saints offense this year, Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Alvin Kamara, I guess, to a point, I don't know, but Chris Olave, this is a better offense that the Saints have that should keep Brady off the field a little bit more than maybe in the past. I love the Saints defense. They always play Tom Brady tough. With this new upgraded offense, I think Brady's going to see fewer and fewer snaps this week. So fewer and fewer snaps means fewer and fewer production. Now turning it over to the running back position, starts and sits, Major. What do you got for us?
So I'm the type of person.
Oh no, I'm
the person that goes to Vegas and I'll be up a few thousand, and then I would take my money and just double down with the house money just to see what happens. I'm just that type of guy.
Have you ever heard of what an idiot actually is?
Rolling
Major,
dice.
before you start rolling the dice, I'm going to stop you right now. Do you know the definition of idiocracy? It is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Now go ahead and talk about this player.
Or does that make you persistent and make you a genius? Cam, I gave you the motivational speech that you needed. Coach called you out. We're like good cop, bad cop. He's going to get back into it. Coach said he's not running hard enough. Okay, that's an easy fix. That's the least of our worries. Like, you can fix that. So he's going to come back, and he's playing against a defense that's towards the bottom of the pack, giving up 151 yards last week. So let's all take a breath and let's not throw him away. I see you guys trying to get rid of Cam so fast, but I'm gonna double down on Cam. And for my sit, I'm gonna go with Alvin Kamara. Last week, 9 carries, 32 or 39 yards. And he's a bit banged up, and he's going against a Bucs defense that's just like, those dudes like playoff ready. They're ready to go right now. So, and they only gave up 171 yards last week. So the Bucs, I'm all in. That defense, those linebackers fly around. It's going to be a long day for Kamara.
Oh, I can get behind the Kamara one. I mean, it's going to be a tough one. When you got Devin White and Levante David, those are some of the best sideline-to-sideline tacklers in the National Football League. Now, Cam Akers, what are you going to do if he doesn't perform against Atlanta? I think the biggest wake-up for him would be James Robinson, because James Robinson is doing better than him on less of a recovery period than what Cam Akers had.
But we heard you say that already.
I mean, that has got to be – I mean, psychologically, a guy who has the same injury outperforming you, that has to motivate you, doesn't it?
No, he's not even worried about him. This dude is a professional. He's like he's locked in. He's dialed in. Mark my words. I can't wait till next week now. I can't wait till the next show.
Well, I need to know right now, because I was scrolling through his Twitter. I need to know if he's actually found himself a girlfriend yet, because I seen that tweet out there, and man, he needs something, because that Achilles injury ain't doing him any favors. Now, Tera, what do you got? Who's your start for week number 2?
Daryl Henderson. No, I'm just kidding.
But no, seriously, start Daryl Henderson.
I mean, but if I was starting one, it would definitely be Daryl Henderson, because I think,
so funny.
He's the one that's going to get more carries. Sean McVay likes him. And he actually got yards last week, so that was also positive.
He got yards.
He got yards, just any. Now, my start of the week is Antonio Gibson, and I never thought I would be saying that, but here he is. Congratulations to him. Antonio Gibson versus the Eagles. Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson. I really think that he's going to be a good start this week. When we look at what he did last week, what I really liked about him was the fact that he actually got pass work and was utilized as the dynamic athlete that he was in college. It was really weird. We've been sitting here waiting for Antonio Gibson to actually be utilized as the player that he was actually drafted as. They kept trying to make him just a traditional running back, and he was never that. So it's good seeing him not only get the groundwork, but also get the opportunity to get involved in the pass game. And I think he's going to have a big week. And I don't mind him, rest of season until Brian Robinson comes back. Then things get a little bit shaky. But for right now, he's got a good matchup. And I think this is going to be a good situation for him.
Then who do you sitting here? Because I got to know this.
Cam Akers. No, I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. But really, sit Cam Akers. Sit Cam Akers. But no, my sit is Damian Pierce. Unfortunately, the hype train, it was a little short-lived. We didn't really get to experience it in the regular season yet. But I do think that eventually Damian Pierce can take over as the lead back, because there's only so long that a 32-year-old running back can hold a young man down. Right now, it's not looking very good. And the problem is that not only does he not have the volume on the ground, he also doesn't have the pass catching work. And as Matt mentioned before, that's probably not going to actually happen this season with Rexy Burke. He's not going to give up that passing work. So for me, he's not someone that you can start right now until he gets a more significant amount of the volume on the ground. You need to set him. Sorry.
And I'll make mine quick here. Well, as quick as I can. I got Saquon Barkley as my start against Carolina. Played 83% of the snaps, posted a whopping 74% route participation. He dominated the opportunities here for the Giants. I mean, absolutely. When the Giants needed to play, it was Saquon Barkley. There was not a dang thing that the Tennessee Titans could do. And there's not going to be a dang thing that the Carolina Panthers are going to be able to do. And I know we talk about how they've improved on defense, but I'm not all about that. 62% of the attempts, 40% target share, 22% of his carries went for 10 yards or more. We're talking about 6.8 yards per attempt after contact. Yes, Saquon Barkley is back, and he busted off that big run, if you guys don't recall. So that's what I like to see. I like to see Saquon Barkley back. I know, Major, you like to see a guy who's kind of battled that adversity. He bounced back, and he's bouncing back. He's giving people what they wanted. We moved him up to like round 2. Sometimes he's stuck into round 1 of fantasy drafts. He is rewarding those managers who put faith in him. Now, the one guy I can't get behind this week, Najee Harris versus the Patriots. Hey, the Patriots defense actually comes to play from time to time, so I'm not going to knock the Patriots defense here. If Harris plays this week, it doesn't mean that you have to put him in your fantasy lineups. I know it's hard to bench him, but after suffering what looked to be that high ankle sprain that usually has a 2 to 4 week recovery, when I hear negative results, which is positive and should be ready to go, that is a hard pass for me, especially when we talk about everything else that happened in this offseason here with that Liz Frank stuff. It's all connected somehow, some way. So for me, I am holding off on Najee Harris. And now we're going to move on to the wide receiver position. Major, who are you coming on with? Because do you have someone for that was sitting last week in your must start now?
I'm going to just kind of hop on your bandwagon here and show some love because I see Tera's like whatever she has to do to get all the love she's getting from you. I don't know what's going on there. But, Devontae Adams, 10 catches, 17 targets, 17 targets, 141 yards in a TD. He balled out in his first game as a Raider. And I is going to continue. Arizona defense looked a little choppy last week. And Carr's also has to have kind of a comeback performance. He threw a lot of picks and it just didn't look right in the game. So look for him to have that kind of chip on his shoulder. And I think Devontae Adams is going to be the benefit. He's going to be the benefit. I can't say the word now.
Beneficiary.
Benefit, that one. Yeah, he's going to be that. And then I'm going to go with another one of your guys since we all want to laugh.
Well, how are you going to win favor with me by hyping up one of my guys and then absolutely trashing one of my guys? I'm a rebel,
baby. I'm a rebel. I don't care. I don't need
how you win favor.
I don't need your favor.
You got to say Jacoby Myers, Jacoby Myers, Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, everyone talk about Cam. Let's talk about some of your guys. Let's talk about, I ain't forgetting about you. Let's talk about Irv Smith. Remember you were pumping him up? Remember that? Yeah, let's talk about
hurt.
Jacoby. I told you this show's out in protest right now. So yeah. But Jacoby, yeah, he's still dealing with a bad knee. The quarterback play out there, McCorkle. Yeah, he's not doing too well. He's playing like a McCorkle. And he's already looking like Jacoby. It looks like he's gonna have another long season without any touchdowns and 100,000 targets and 0 touchdowns. It's just how he rolls. He's going to get 1 touchdown to end. Matt's going to take his shirt off and rub his belly and do whatever he does. And we're all going to be happy.
Well, I don't have to do that because Will Dissly is going to make me take my shirt off again. The way he'll perform Noah Fant, as I predicted. Now, Jacoby Myers.
Hey, you just stay home waiting. Timeout. You just stay home looking at each thing I say and be like, I'm going to get him on this one.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I've learned already that my best way to set my lineups is doing the opposite of what you said. So I feel really good about Jacoby Myers this week, who led the Patriots in receiving yards and receptions last week. Now, Tera, who are we going back to here in week 2? And can you really trust this guy as a start?
Yes, you can. I'm going back to Darnell Moody. Look, this is well, when I say go back, you shouldn't have been there in the first place. Just that being said,
Matt was already there, but yeah, go ahead.
Because
from Matt saying that was the guy, remember?
Well, here's the problem. It was a monsoon, okay? And
no excuse.
Yeah, big excuse, unfortunately. All the pass catchers from both Chicago and San Francisco, they all get a pass on that. That was not any way for us to judge Mooney, Kmet, Ayuk, even Debo looked, it was awful. So unfortunately, those guys just had a really rough week. Don't hold that against them. You can go back to Darnell Moody. It's perfectly fine. He is still a wide receiver 1 in that offense. In fact, he is the only wide receiver in that offense, which is a fantastic reason to play him. Because again, that was the main incentive. It is Darnell Mooney, and Darnell Mooney. So feel very free to start him again. My sit of the week, unfortunately, is a guy I feel really bad for. It kind of goes, in tandem with what I was talking about earlier with AJ Brown in the show. Devonta Smith is the one that is truly hurt in this bromance between Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, unfortunately. Smith was 0 of 4 last week. That was something I didn't think it was going to be good, but I didn't think it was going to be that bad. I'm very concerned for him from a volume perspective. I just don't think it's going to be there. Again, Philadelphia is a run-heavy team, and they did it, very well. When I was talking about Gibson earlier, I meant to mention in playing against the Lions that the Eagles were very good on the ground with them in terms of their production as a group. You got to remember that this is still a run-heavy offense. You've got the running backs that are going to be fed. You've got AJ Brown. You've got Dallas Goedert, who is taking priority over Devonta Smith as well. So unfortunately, at some point, he'll have a good game here and there. It won't be consistent, and you don't want him in your lineup for those bad weeks. So you're going to just pass. Not good.
Well, I'm going to follow your lead here and take a disappointing wide receiver from week 1, and I'm going to pump into my lineup in week 2 with confidence, and that is DJ Moore versus the New York Giants. Coming off a disappointing week 1 performance, look for an overcorrection here in week number 2. Mayfield and Moore will see plenty of man coverage. We talked about this earlier with Derek Carr and Devontae Adams. Well, the Giants, they showed the 5th most man coverage last week. And Baker Mayfield, he's actually pretty good against man coverage. Cover 2, not so much. But man coverage, he absolutely can take advantage of this. And DJ Moore historically has been the 18th best wide receiver versus man coverage. And that was being done without a quarterback. We're talking guys like PJ Walker, Sam Darnold, Teddy Bridgewater. Baker Mayfield is the best quarterback versus man coverage that DJ Moore has been able to play with. So look for him to bounce back this week. And now, sometimes it's better to have vinyl than it is a CD. So don't go breaking my heart. A little Elton John, TTD. Get rid of that CD. Stick to vinyl. CD Lamb, you are a permanent sit for me. I mean, you can't trade him. You can't drop him. You can't start him. You can't do anything with him right now. I told you, he's my week 1 loser, and it is what it is. I mean, I can't get beyond honorable mention, though, to Mike Evans this week because he's going to have Marshawn Lattimore. I love matchups inside the matchups. That is going to be must-see TV. Evans and Lattimore always gets a little physical, and I always love it. But CeeDee Lamb, you cannot start him until further notice, and that further notice might not be until, week 10, week 11? I don't know, but I just can't get behind it. We're going to have to figure out something to do to bounce back. Hopefully some of these waiver guys that we've thrown out there are going to help you. Maybe Zay Jones turns into that guy that's going to save you from yourself there with CeeDee Lamb. But let's talk about tight ends before I kind of give myself an aneurysm here. Major, who's that tight end that you're starting here in week number 2 with confidence?
I'm going with Kyle Pitts. Yes, I know the numbers were not good last week. I'm not even going to go over them. But he's the offense. Like Atlanta needs to do a better job of getting him the ball. They need to do some Debo type stuff. Line him up in the backfield. Put him at quarterback. Put him at DB. Put him everywhere. He's the only player on your team worth anything. Find opportunities for him to get the ball. So we have to get Pitts the ball. He's going to be the man this week. And then another tight end I'm going to sit here is OJ Howard. Don't fall for it. I think Bevin Jordan's still the guy out there. He had 2 receptions, 2 touchdowns. That doesn't mean that he was in the game. That means he was just in the right place at the right time. So I think they're going to get Bevin going. And OJ is going to be OJ. We've been here before. He's one of those players that we all root for every single year or hope that something's going to happen, and nothing ever happens. So don't fall for it. You cannot have a breakout year when you're 40 years old.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not in on OJ Howard at all. 2 catches, 2 touchdowns. I can't see that.
I think a sleeper. He was like the number 2 ad or something like that when I checked earlier.
Yeah, sometimes chasing points is not what you want to do here. I mean,
Right.
At the end of the day, I'm not going there. I know OJ Howard ain't it. Now, Tera, who is it at the tight end position?
I will say that I would be mildly concerned about Brevin Jordan, because this could certainly be like a Jimmy Graham, Cole Kmet kind of situation.
That was suck. Yeah.
So where it's not usable from a fantasy asset, but every now and then he pops up, stealing those targets that are highly valuable and getting like a couple of them. But my tight end of the week is the guy that was my tight end last week that you needed to start. It worked out well. I hope you did. We're going back with it. We're going to run it back with Gerald Everett. He was 3 of 4, 54 yards and a touchdown. Again, you look at that and you think it's not insane volume, but when you look at the landscape of tight ends and how they are performing outside of Travis Kelce and Darren Waller, you cross your fingers and you just kind of hope that they can get to 10 points. And Gerald Everett can get you there. He could also see an uptick of targets with Keenan Allen out as well. It should be a high-powered game against the Chiefs that we talked about earlier. And Major believes in Justin Herbert. So, hey, maybe this could actually benefit Gerald Everett as well. So, yes, that is my tight end start of the week. My tight end sit that Major tried to call me out on, but I already had him as my sit. So, Irv Smith, 0 of 2 Sunday. 31% snap count. This was ugly. My only hope was that, maybe they brought him back to, put him in the offense, but he wasn't 100% healed yet. And so maybe he's just not fully ready to play to his full potential. So I'm hoping that, you can actually start him at some point, but we need to see that on the field before you ever put him into a starting lineup. Don't do it. There are just many other tight ends that I prefer from a streaming perspective. So again, I talked about getting a little bit concerned about this offense outside of Justin Jefferson in terms of the pass catchers. So he is my sit. Just be very careful.
Tera, I have to say that I drafted Irv Smith Jr. because you talked about so much. In the Scott Fishbowl, I drafted him like hella high. And now you're telling me to like never put him in the game.
So, I mean, technically speaking, that draft did happen. It did happen before he got hurt. So,
wow.
I mean, to be fair,
the moonwalk is nice though. I love your moonwalk. That's a good moonwalk there.
I'm impressed because we know Major played running back in college. I did not know that Tera played DB, and with that back pedal, I can see why.
I do it well.
Now moving on to my starts and sits. Rule number 1 about Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. Yeah. Rule number 1 about fantasy football is whoever the tight end is going against the Raiders, you start that tight end. And that this week is Zach Ertz. I really don't have to go into much detail on this. He ended up with a touchdown, I think, last week. I mean, Zach Ertz, tight end, Raiders, start. Now, my sit of the week is I can start Will Dissly. I can even start Colby Parkinson because I know both these tight ends are going to outperform Noah Fant. It's what it is. I mean, but seriously, I do know that Geno Smith does like Will Dissly. That's why I felt educated about my kind of smirk remark there last week. And obviously, I copy and pasted that, put that all over Twitter. But for me, the sit of the week is I'm going to go give you a little bit something more than just Noah Fant because you shouldn't be starting Noah Fant anyway. That's just silly. I'm going to say, and this one actually hurts because I was high on Dalton Schultz ahead of the season. I'm telling you this right now. I don't trust anything about this Dallas Cowboys offense. I don't trust Cooper Rush. I don't trust this offensive line. The only player that I even have any kind of belief in here right now might be Tony Pollard on screen passes. That might be the only Cowboys offense that they have the rest of the season. And it absolutely hurts me to say this because I like Dalton Schultz. I liked CeeDee Lamb. I like a lot of these pieces in this offense, but Dak is this spoon that stirs the drink here in Dallas, and that spoon is gone. And hey, you know what it's like when you make yourself a tea or a coffee, but the grounds are all in the bottom? That's the Dallas Cowboys right now. It ain't right. It's not going to taste good, and it doesn't look good in fantasy. So avoid Dallas altogether. But I'm telling you right now, what you don't want to avoid is fantasypoints.com, because you can go out there right now and get yourself any of their packages as part of a subscription here and save 10% by using promo code 22Vipers10. Hey, PGA, college, NFL, they have you covered. A one-stop shop for all your football needs. Catch Major over there on the Fantasy Points every Sunday morning. Catch myself on the Friday Night Hype Show. Yeah. And I will promise you, I will be at least 5 cups of coffee in on every show. So I'll either be unable to understand a word that's coming out of my mouth, or I will literally have my heart explode live on television. Either way, you are a winner. With that all said, this has been the Dynasty Vipers Vipercast, episode 146, presented by the Fantasy Points Media Group. For Major Caldwell, for Tera Roberts, I'm Matt Donnelly, and we'll see you next week. Take care.